in here. And I'm going to go into research guides. This is how I usually log in. All right. So I'm just going to show you how to do a couple of minor edits on this, and also to do to switch from a guide to a web page. I don't know. I'll just assume everyone wants a one-on-one 101 thing if you haven't been in here doing anything. In the back end, one of the things you can see here is that we have the orange top, and that lets you know that you're in the administrative area of the LibGuide system, because sometimes you're working on guide and you're like, where's the public page and where is the back page? So if we're going to go in and we say we want to add a box to one of our pages, we go into content guides. We would find one of our pages. The way that I do this, since our group is the website group, I don't really do anything with guides. I just do website group pages. I'll just kind of like bring all those to the top. So you can see these are all our web pages. Some of them are test web pages. We don't even really publish only maybe 10 web pages. So it's funny all that work that we did, and then we got 10 web pages out of it, right? So, but yeah, so you'll go in here and say, where is that? Library forms, sure, that's the one I want. So then you click into the guide. Again, this is the back end. You see all this stuff here that you're not used to seeing when you're in the home page. Just to give you an idea what that looks like, here we are. Here's the website page. Got a different header. But you can kind of see the skeleton of what it looks like here. You've got your research forum heading. You've got your text, and then it goes to another heading. So you got research forums, borrower forums, faculty forums, and you also see you have the little links here to go down the page. So it pretty much mirrors what you're going to see here. It's just unpublished. So yeah, let's go ahead, and a lot of this stuff is weird. It seems like it had been cobbled over the years. So if anybody's ever tried to do major stuff on here, it is going to be a little tricky and take getting used to, because you have to go up here to change the type and group. You have to go in here to move the boxes around. You got to go in here to do something with the guide metadata. So it doesn't really make sense. Hopefully they're going to do like a back end revision of that at some point to make things just much easier. But it's not like we're going to be making edits to web pages a lot. So this is just kind of an overview. So yeah, let's add a box. So in order to add a box, you see here. Yeah, so how do we add a box? Reorder move. Oh, we just go to the bottom, add box, column 1. So yeah, we're going to add this box here. We're going to call it a test form. Why did I do that? I pressed enter. Should not have done that. Again. And this is a standard box. With our website pages, we're not really going to do tabbed gallery or profile. I think, even though we didn't put that in the policy, you must not. Everybody was like, we don't want any rules, but I don't want to see a lot of this if we can help it. If people ask us, it's like, let's just do the standard ones, because then it'll look more and more like a LibGuide. We kind of want the guides to look like guides and the pages to look like pages. Do we want it in the bottom of the column? Actually, I want it in between faculty forums and community forums. So let's put it after faculty forums. A lot of times this floating box here, that kind of shows you there's no borders. With the LibGuides, you're used to seeing a border here, like around each one of the little areas, and the heading is black, kind of like this with all of these. So we just changed it to make it look different. For some reason, I must have put some styling over everything to where you don't need to click this floating box thing. There's just no borders on the web page, website stuff. We're going to make it live, so we're not going to hide it. So you go, boom, test form. And then you go up here and say, well, did it save? Yep. So I got my heading there. I just need to put some stuff in there. Got to put some text. I'm going to have a lot of previews here, so I'll get out of that. Let's see. And so if you say, oh man, I did text form instead of test form, you go in here, you just make the change there. So that's your heading change. And then if you want to add text, there's a little rich text thing here. And so then you say, this is a test. And then let's say this is a link. So if you want to add a link, this is the what you see is what you get editor, WYSIWYG. So if you ever hear someone say WYSIWYG, it's just like a place to add stuff like you would normally do, you know, like a link, text, bullet pointed information. This is just kind of like the very basic stuff. And so if I want to add a link, we'll be adding and updating links in here. I'm sure somebody will say, hey, noticed a broken link on, you know, guide X. And so that'll be a lot, you know, a lot of the things that we do will just be like adding a link. Since there is no link, this little chain here with the X would be undo that link, but we don't have a link yet to undo it. So yeah, you put in here, display the text. This is a link. Let's do HTTPS. We really want to avoid doing just HTTP. Let's do a simple link. Great, there's a link. Now we're going to go ahead and save that and preview. And let me see. So it's pretty simple, you know, as long as you know where to go, how to add a new box, or go to the box that you want to add, maybe make changes to. And I'll show you that in a second. Does this link work? Yes. So that was just a very simple kind of way to kind of add a box, add a link. Now we'll go in and maybe we'll say, oh, that link is bad. So now if you want to go back into the test form link and change it, now we have this guy here. This is the edit area. I wouldn't go straight into the HTML unless you know what you're doing. Let's just kind of stick with this for the one-on-one stuff. And then we would go in here and say, well, I mistyped the link. So you'll go ahead and highlight it. And now we have that broken link. Like, let's break that. And then we'll re-add the link as da, 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 and then you'll type the right link. Make sure, are you sure you want to stop that? And so I'm like, you know what? I don't like this test form box. I'm just going to get rid of it. There's an X in the corner. Just get rid of it. And it'll say, are you absolutely sure? Now, I would make sure that you go test form because you might click the wrong X. There's a lot of little headings in these things and not a lot of borders that let you know. That's a bad thing about the backend too. Yes, I understand what will happen. So then it's gone. As we can see, it's gone here too. So there's some pretty simple things just kind of to think about. I changed the link. I added a box. You can revise a link. I want to show you kind of why guides look like guides and web pages look like web pages. So to do that, what did I do last time? Here, did that. Let's go to groups. So groups is a major thing that we had to do this website redesign because we just didn't want our web pages to look like guides. So if you go into groups, you'll see that we have a few things in here, but the bulk of the things are these 142 research guides. These are our LibGuides. And then we have 16 website pages in this group, the website group. If you click on these pages, and this is a way to navigate to your page too, if you want to. You can go through this way, or you can go through the content guides. So you're like, oh, here's some unpublished guides that are like, we want to keep around for testing purposes. And then, like I said earlier, our published guides, we only have about 10 guides. Now we might make these, that number grow a lot if we get those non-course related guides and start pulling them over into web pages. That's something that we think the group might want to talk about during this, like the fall semester or something meetings, just to say like, could these be made into web pages? So, you know, you can go into library forums, all that good stuff. We just did that. But I want to do some more like administrative functions. And so instead of going into those pages, I'm going to go into this, you know, here's our little edit square, whatever the heck that is. We all know what it is, but don't know how to describe it. It's just like a thing to edit. And so here it is. This is the website group homepage instead of the LibGuides homepage. And LibGuides has its own custom CSS styling and JavaScripting and all that good stuff over the entirety of our Springshare LibGuides instance. But this is within the website group only. And this is how we were able to make the thing look different. This is just JavaScript and CSS code that I wrote. And you can see there is a lot of it. And so all these little things like change this header to be this, change this color to be that, change the size to be this, make this act like this way and this act like this way. And so that's all the stuff in there. that I hope no one has to go into and mess with. Maybe libsites will be, de rigueur at that point. So yeah, that's kind of just where we navigate to when we need to make major changes that cascade down into the entire group. But if we just want to do regular stuff to one guide, we just go in through the guide and start making changes in there. All right. One of the major things that we as a group will be thinking about is, making updates. So we have, if they're minor updates, these page contacts, and this is within our university libraries website committee shared documents. And so you guys should have access to that. So all these page contacts here are responsible for making updates. If there's a comma, if there's a typo, if there's a broken link, if you need to add a new box, relatively minor things. If there are major changes, if you need a brand new web page and all that different stuff, then we need to, we have a form on our shared documents that you can make that request. And then this group will look at it. I'll say, hey guys, this request came in. What do you think? And we'll discuss it maybe by email. Maybe we'll have a special meeting. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So yeah, you can see I have a fair amount of documents here. I just kind of took the forms document or page because it's easy. Digital collections, obviously mine. I did all the styling on the homepage, so that made sense. Kathleen has a lot of pages as administrative contact with library administration department. Kathleen, I was thinking that Terry was going to be the page contact for these two. Are you going to be that, or are we going to eventually train Terry? Or
I think I feel more. I have not talked to Terry about that.
okay,
Let me ask Terry about her comfortability level. Um, so her being the contact instead of me.
yeah. Or I mean, if it's really low bar, we don't hire and fire a lot or whatever, and
Yeah.
people leave occasionally, and so it's not like this huge thing. But if we're finding it difficult, then I can take over those, adding and deleting and maintaining that. But
Okay, yeah. I really don't feel put out by the current load. I feel like I'm kind of the only thing is like I'm gonna be absent a lot in the fall, so if changes need to be made in the fall, like Melvin needs to,
gotcha.
and we might need an additional backup, so I might loop Terry in anyway.
Or need to
Just
delay that. Maybe I can just take over, and then when you get back, then we can kind of get it
yeah,
totally
yeah.
comfortable with that.
Okay.
You also have the about university libraries, which has like a lot of sub pages, and so that's
Yes.
like 5 or 6 pages, right? So,
Yeah.
and so yeah, this is the website list with contacts. This is one of the links in our shared documents that people will go to when they're like, "Ooh, I noticed in the digital collections webpage that there's a typo. Who owns that page?" They would kind of navigate through here and say, "Oh, Scott does," and so they'd say, "Hey, Scott, I noticed a typo," and I would come in and fix it. So that's just kind of like the minor stuff that just in case we get someone contacting us.
Mhm.
Show LibGuides homepage. Yeah, so one of our things that we were thinking of doing is like Eric had talked about, you know what, maybe research and scholarship, since they make most of the course related guides, should be responsible for the course related guides. And then maybe this committee can talk about whether we should be responsible for the non-course related guides. And by non-course related guides, if you go to the research guides homepage, you'll see this homepage just kind of shows it by subject. So you've got your 3 political science guides, etc. And then at the top here with these asterisks are the non-course related guides, stuff like an intro to Coastal Carolina University for people who've never been here or something like that. It kind of gives, just kind of a brief summary of these things. And so if we were like, you know what, yeah, we really think this probably functions better as uh, a page than a LibGuide. So what we would do is say like, well, okay, so the first thing I did was see this, like, thankfully it's a human readable URL. Some of the URLs are pretty funky. We might need to change those at some point to something that's readable. So this one is just CCU. So I go and I'm like, oh, let me see here. If I go into content, guides, friendly URL, CCU, that guide comes right up. And now I'm in the back end of that guide. And so actually this morning I was like, well, what would it be like if I changed the group? and made it into a web page. What would it look like? Let's see. So right here you have, it took me 4 minutes or whatever to find like how to do the group. I was in here, I was in there, I was in the page thing, and it's like, oh, type group. And there's this little, so I guess it's just another one of those things that's kind of annoying that you have to just, the group things are up here. And as you see, it's a subject guide. I didn't mess with that at all when I changed it. The group is research guides. And here we see our website public. So what would happen if I turn that into a public guide? Make sure you read all that stuff. Okay, that's good. You go in, a few seconds later, it goes kind of changes into that. And then you see it's now a web page. So that's how easy it is to change a guide to a web page. Now, it's not 100% awesome here because as you see, you have to ask the library heading without that little chat widget because we don't have that JavaScript in the website group. There's all these kind of little like things, but they're relatively easy. You know, the images are still showing up. The links are still in the same order, but it has that styling now where it doesn't have the background color. It doesn't have the boxes going around it. So it just kind of looks website-y like our other websites. You can see if we go into all these sub pages, basically what our web pages are just basically lists of important information